What is up, YouTube? Hey, I got this new little part from GoPro. This is the head mount. So since I got this thing, I figured it'd be a great opportunity for me to make it a whole lot easier on myself. And we're going to install, for any of y'all that, because it's probably gonna be a pretty upcoming grip, and I've seen some videos on it, but personally, my own opinion, I think I could do one a little bit better and a little bit more detailed. So we're going to be installing the actual Eurotactics grip. So if that's something you're into and you're thinking about getting one, or you got one, you need to know how to install it, well, you are in the right place. So let's figure this thing out and come on over. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is get this apart. So now that we have it apart, I'm going to assume that y'all know how to get down to this point. If you don't, maybe leave me a comment. I'll do it on another gun in the future. I'm not going to tear it back apart. But this is everything we got. We got our stock, we got our lower, got our gearbox in two different pieces, we got our jack or whatever engine you choose to be using. This is going to be our regulator. This is the Wolverine regulator that goes with the ESG. I'm sorry, the ERG. I think the ESG has a Polarstar option through Monk Customs, but this is one's through Eurotactics. Great grip. We got our gauge, we got our plug, we got our hose. We're gonna have to use this hose, and we're going to snip it down. A braided line will not work for this one. This being a Polarstar jack, we have our signal wire down to our, that's going to go in our FCU and our battery. I suggest you get a small one. This is the little bitty tiny 7.4 250 mAh 25C battery. Awesome little battery. You can probably get them online if you're in the area. ACS Airsoft has them, usually in stock. We're going to put our speed trigger back in, all our pieces, so on and so forth. So the best thing to start with is obviously the engine. We're going to go ahead and start taking the engine and placing it in. Now on Loctite stuff, this is leak lock. If you have some what would be known as plumber's tape or Teflon tape, good stuff, but this right here, I like it. The only place I wouldn't put it is into the actual back of the engine. Do not put it in here specifically. But when you're tying this gauge back on or your plug back on to the regulator, it's cool to use. Just don't use an abundance of it. So obviously we're going to, first thing we do is we're going to take our hose. We're going to take this hose and we're going to put it into our engine. And like I said, this is not a braided one. A braided one will not work. It ain't got to be burrowed down with everything you got, but make sure it's on there enough. I'm even using just little needle noses just to ensure that it's got a little bit of tightness to it. So once our hose is there, get a little flex in this thing. Again, this is the Polarstar Jack V2 in a V2 gearbox. We're going to send that just kind of down for a moment. That ain't going to stay. So from there, we're going to plug in our solenoid wire back into our trigger. I did not pull the trigger board out, but it's one screw. I mean, if you are putting it in, you may know from that point, or if you already had it in there, you may know what you're doing. These are always a booger to get back in. They never fail to be a booger. So we're going to plug our solenoid wire in. We're going to take our signal wire to our FCU, and we're going to plug it in this very front. Bam. Make sure it's in there. It doesn't make a clip sound, but you'll know when it's pretty snug in there. Now what I found to do, it's going to be beneficial here in a few minutes when it actually gets into the grip area. It's actually just, you're going to probably leave your guide rod for your stock. You're going to leave it out. But what I found best was to just kind of take your wire and bunch it up just a little bit. Just kind of bunch it up in here, kind of like a little snake inside the gearbox. So now that it's coiled up there like a snake, let's go ahead and put in our trigger. So it's the speed trigger by Speed brand. We're going to just notch it down here, hold your spring in, make sure it falls in there, set it, make sure it looks like it's hidden. Looks good to me. Keep yourself coiled. Come back through this hose, through this notch, and we're going to everything lines up. Boom. Box is in there, trigger's functioning. Okay, so now that we have our box back, we're going to go ahead and stick it down in the lower. Let's see. Slide her in, get our trigger coming through. Pop it in the back. Boom. Let's go ahead and put our pin back in. Oops. Pin runs through. Take this pin. Make sure it's back in there. Mine falls in pretty easy. Boom. Alright, so the gearbox is in there. Now this is what I was talking about a minute ago. Is this going to be sitting inside your grip itself? I'll leave a link in below in the description where you can get one. Awesome, awesome, awesome grip. There's going to be a couple Allen key screws right here. There's going to be one on top. There's going to be one on bottom. Now these are to keep your regulator from shaking when you get it in there, so it will not move. It's kind of holding it a little bit more stable. So what we're going to do is make sure those are backed out enough where we can, I don't know if you can see through there, but we're going to make sure it's not pushed through anywhere. It's going to catch this regulator. And these two Allen keys are going to slide in these two notches, so just let it rest right down in there. Simple as that. Easy peasy. Do not tighten those yet, just kind of wait, make sure you're running through here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece that's going to come with it. It did come with a little bit of pre-glue from the company, but since I've had it in and taken it back out, we're going to put a little bit more. This is good stuff. I'd run it out a little bit. Sometimes it comes out doo-doo brown at first. There's the doo-doo brown. Let that rub off and make sure it's coming out blue. And once we have it coming out blue, we're going to just add just a little. A little goes a long way in this. So you ain't got to overdo it. Just enough. Voila. And my fingers are going to be smurfs for the rest of the day, I'm sure. So once we have that piece in there, what we're going to do is stick it inside the grip here, and we're going to reach it down inside this hole, while on the opposite side, inside of this here, let me back it up real quick, you will see that this is an Allen key part. So an Allen key will fit, oops, if I have the right one, an Allen key, do not quote me on the size yet, will fit inside here. So we're going to run that through the bottom of the grip, through the regulator, grab this and tighten it up. I'm going to stick it down in here, and hopefully my camera's reaching fine. I hope it is. I can't really see anything. We're going to grab it through that bottom as we give it a little bit of pressure. Do not let it cross thread. Just make sure it's not crossing. And if it's guiding pretty good, then it ain't crossing. So just give it just a little bit of turn. Ain't gotta be nothing crazy, because this lock is going to, leak lock is going to keep it from doing so. Keep it from going anywhere. So once we have that in, let's go ahead and take our gauge for the bottom. Same thing. It's hard not to scab these up. I did. Wish I didn't, but it happened. So we're going to do the same thing. A little goes a long way. Rub that on. You ain't got to rub around the whole thing if you don't want to. It's going to as soon as you start turning. And we're going to stick it through the bottom. Again, make sure you're not cross-threading, so just give it a little bit of go. And get it on there. And unfortunately, I do not have a crescent on me that's going to get big enough, open up enough. Just going to grab it. I'm just going to turn it. Don't give it, don't grab onto it and squeeze it and give it hell, or you're going to crush your gauge. So you just want it just enough. So now that that's in there, your gauge is in, your plug's in, let's go ahead and tighten these up. And these, like I said, are what's going to keep the regulator, I don't know if you can see that, it's moving at the moment. I want to keep it from doing that. Do not buckle down on one of them at the same, all of that one at the same time. Just bounce back and forth for a minute so you can kind of keep it balanced in the middle. Don't with these as well, again, you ain't got to fight it completely to buckle them down. I mean, that's not in a metal part, that's in a thread of the plastic, so try not to strip it out, because that would be a pain in the ass. So just a little bit from each direction, and it's holding in there tight. But what I noticed is the actual hose, we gotta snip this down. We ain't got no choice, because it's going to be, you're gonna slide both of these in here, guiding this down. Make sure you have your FC wire and this hose is coming at the same time. Go ahead and make sure that you run the hose into the actual plug here, and then it's actually going to go in there until the grip pushes in. What I would do if I was you, I'd grab some needle noses or something and kind of give it an extra push to make sure it's actually locked in there. Plenty. Feels like it is. Push your grip up. It's like a little resistance, so it feels like it's in there. So we're going to take our screws, which comes with 4 of these. It's the Allen ones. They're going to go back into the gearbox and hold the grip on. Alright, so now that you have your grip installed in there, or installed on, now you can go ahead and attempt to put the FCU and the small battery. Now, this is why I was saying attempt, because this is not the easiest part to do. Let's go ahead and put our plug in here, plug our FCU back in, hook up our battery. Now what I found is to kind of put the battery in first and then the FCU. Fold it back over, tuck it down, try to pinch your wires. It's really hard not to on this. Got that flush in there, and see where you can tuck in the rest of the cords. Got that in there. Now we're gonna go put our cover back on. So hopefully you got your grip installed with no issues. I realized in the video that the camera could definitely be pointing down a little bit more to see more to my lap. That's my bad. It's the first time I've ever used this specific thing itself, so it's kind of hard to tell a little bit. But yeah, man, let me know what you think about this grip. If you got the grip, are you enjoying it? Was it easy to put in? So on and so forth. But if you got anything out of this install video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see some more, any gameplay, anything like that, y'all know, come back to your boy. I usually post a weekly video, some gameplay or whatnot. Until then, man, y'all know what it is on this channel every single time. Game on. See you on the next one.